y'all, Dixie here. Today I want to talk about my first aid kit, especially some things that I have added or ordered to add to my first aid kit. If you're wondering why I'm in the podcast studio today, we've got a tropical storm coming through, so it wouldn't do so well to record outside. But anyway, back to the first aid kit. For most of my thru hikes, my first aid kit has been pretty bare bones. I think it consisted of some basic meds, duct tape, and a needle, and that was pretty much it. Who knows, I may end up adding more stuff in the future, but if I were to go do the Triple Crown trails again, or when I go on my next backpacking trip, this is what I'll be carrying. First, I want to talk about KT tape. This is one that I am currently adding. If you follow my podcast, then you might have seen that I recently interviewed Dr. Morgan Brosnahan from Blaze Physio. She is incredible. She follows thru hikers along the Pacific Crest Trail and does physical therapy with them so they can continue their hikes. But she is an advocate of lightweight packs to reduce strain on people as they're hiking. But she said that KT tape is one of those that is worth having in your pack.
I do think KT tape is a good thing to have at least a few strips of, because things like anterior tib thing in the shin, if you stretch a piece of tape and follow the path of that muscle, so it's like foot up towards the knee, you will feel the tape help lower your foot. And so there can be like a genuine load reduction with that can be helpful in the moment.
Now, it's not going to be super useful unless you know how to use it. So it might be useful to look ahead at some of the frequent injuries thru hikers end up with and learn how KT tape could help you on trail.
What is that?
I don't know.
What are you using?
I've not. Do you not use it for planner?
Just an edit, looking back at my PCT first aid kit, I apparently started with KT tape. I'm shocked I don't remember that. I didn't know how to use it, so I ditched it in the first town. Also, she recommended some blister wool. She said blister wool works really well because it reduces friction between the toes or anywhere else that you've got a blister. You can shove that in there and then put your sock on, and it doesn't involve any kind of adhesive. So almost any time a tape or adhesive is involved, you have skin compromise, which can lead to other problems. And then also blister wool could be used, she said, to put in the arch of your shoe to help have some arch support temporarily till you get to town and can, figure out that situation with better footwear, insoles, etc. So I am also adding that. A little side note, as I'm talking about things that I learned in that podcast episode, blister control is also a good way to prevent injury, because when you have a painful blister, you change how you walk and favor one side and everything's kind of thrown off kilter. You can actually injure yourself not walking properly. She also mentioned that leukotape is something that a lot of people can actually have an allergic reaction to. So if you're going to carry leukotape for any reason, you might want to patch test it before you're on the trail to make sure that you're not going to have a reaction. I just didn't even know that. On that note, I should also mention when I got a blister on the Arizona trail on the side of my toe, I started using toe socks from Exoskin and they really helped. So I'll probably keep carrying a pair of those too. Next, the meds. And this is pretty consistent with what I used to have. Ibuprofen. I am not a vitamin I person where I take ibuprofen daily. I try to take it very sparingly. It helps with inflammation. It's a fever reducer in case you find yourself feverish on trail. It's not a bad thing to have if you are in pain and you need to get through to the next town. Imodium. Take it from me. From personal experience, I can say that having diarrhea on trail sucks. When I was thru hiking the Appalachian Trail, I got food poisoning. I would have done anything to get my hands on an Imodium, and everybody I passed on trail, I asked them if they had it. Sadly, I had to just make it to town, and there is a balance between ridding your body of toxins that it needs to expose of, but there's also a danger in becoming too dehydrated if you are just going and going and going like I was. So I really do think that it's a good precaution to have. Benadryl. In case of an allergic reaction, never hurts to have Benadryl on hand. An EpiPen. This is one that is probably overkill for most people, but when I went through some really intense facial swelling from, I later found out, probably being allergic to like everything outside plus my down sleeping bag that I was using, I decided to start carrying an EpiPen just in case, because they told me that I was allergic to like grasses and trees and all sorts of stuff. And so I also don't know if I'm allergic to bees and wasps. So it just didn't hurt to have it on trail. It didn't weigh that much. I carried it several times after I got it, and it's expired, so I need to get another one. But I will say, if you do carry an EpiPen, if you're going to be in extreme temperatures, extreme cold or heat, it's good to look into getting an insulated pouch for it. And antibiotic ointment. Now, I'm not going to carry a whole tube of it, but some of those little individual serving sizes, maybe a couple of those, just in case I get a gnarly blister that starts looking infected on the middle of the trail, or I had ingrown infected toenails. And so just to have a little bit of that to get you through to town is a good idea. Next, a needle. I use this to pop blisters, and it's also part of my repair kit, so dual purpose. And I carry a ladder and hand sanitizer so that I can sterilize the needle to the best of my ability before I shove it into my skin. And finally, an Inreach. Now, I understand that the Inreach doesn't actually patch up anything on your body, but when the rest of your first aid kit won't cover it, you've got your Inreach or other satellite device to call for help if you need it. Being able to hit that SOS button when you really need it or somebody around you needs it is such an amazing resource that I think it's foolish to go without now that we have this technology. And I know people from the 80s are like, well, I always did it and I was fine. Yeah, I did too. I did the whole Triple Crown and didn't have one until the Continental Divide Trail. I didn't need it out there at all for all those thousands of miles of hiking. And then I went and did a little hike in Idaho, and my heart started acting weird and I had to hit the SOS button. So you don't need it until you do. And that technology exists. And I think being able to assist in your own rescue is just the best thing that you can do for yourself, and to help search and rescue, who inevitably will come looking for you if you don't turn up anyway. So anyway, that is all I have for y'all today on my current first aid kit. Before you go, if you don't mind commenting below what you carry in your first aid kit, I'd love to hear about that and if any of it has actually been useful to you. All right, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see y'all next time.